Beautiful. Well, hello everyone. Good morning and welcome, or good afternoon, should I say, and welcome to our fabulous panel. Today we will be talking about She Breaks Free from Survival to Thriving. And I'm so grateful to have you all join us today for what promises to be an empowering, heart-led, and transformative conversation. My name is Michelle Walker, and I am the founder and owner of Cats Recruitment. And I've worked in the corporate space for the last 20 years. Outside of business, I am also a member of the Socialites United group, which includes obviously the Eastern Suburbs Socialites, the Hills Socialites, and also the Penrith Socialites. So it's a great opportunity for us to all unite and support each other as part of our journeys. And most importantly, I think my job on this earth is to be a mother of my three beautiful daughters. And I think, I do all of this to inspire them and I guess other girls and women around. But like many of you, I've also learned that surviving or just surviving just doesn't cut it. Between building a business, raising a family, and staying true to myself, I've discovered that I actually function best when I am thriving, and that's why this topic means so much to me. And I hope that it will resonate with you as well. Today, we'll be hearing from four incredible women who are each helping others move beyond survival and into strength, peace, and purpose. Please welcome our panelists. Ladies, what I will do is invite you to briefly introduce yourselves. And when we do obviously post the video, we will also include contact details, which will allow people listening to our conversation to get in touch with you. And also the viewers will obviously get an opportunity to be able to replay as many times as they want so that their hearts feel extremely full and purposeful. Ladies, if you don't mind, if you could please maybe introduce yourselves, possibly maybe about a minute each. And I was just wondering if Deepika would be happy to introduce herself first.
Sure. Thank you, Michelle, for the great introduction. And thank you, Elena, for holding this space and creating this space for all of us here. And for those joining online, welcome and good afternoon. I'm Deepika. As Michelle said, I'm an empowerment coach and meditation teacher. So my intention and my mission is genuinely to help women come home to themselves. It is to build that self-trust and self-belief that a lot of us have lost along the way through the years, through the conditioning that we have all been through. So in my almost 25 years of experience in corporate and public sectors, I saw so many amazing women who were brilliant, but they were pushed to the side and there was passive aggressiveness that they had to deal with, but they couldn't do anything. It wasn't because they were not capable. They were incredibly capable, but they did not believe that they were. So, they had lost that self-belief and self-trust in themselves. And having mentored a lot of these women made me realize how deep rooted and widespread this feeling and this whole issue was. And that's what inspired me to become coach so I could empower women really to begin to transform themselves. And having been on the journey my own self, like growing up with my grandparents who were really lovely, but back in those days, we were told don't talk too loud because girls are not supposed to talk loudly. If a guest has come home, it is the girl's responsibility to help serve. And I was always the one who was questioning these things. And my grandmother would get fed up with me and she was like, you talk too much and you question too much. And I was like, well, that's how I am. And then, when I got married as well, I was the first one in my family to marry outside our, religion, which is really big. And that was again that little rebel. So I've always questioned, and I really want to empower women to feel that we all have that power within us and we lose that. I lost it myself, but then I have worked a lot I've invested a lot in my own growth over the past many years to come to where I am. And I just want to share that with the beautiful community and women.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Welcome to our panel. Thank you. Charlotte, would you be able to introduce yourself, please?
So I'm Charlotte Mitchell. It's lovely to be here, and hello to everybody. Good afternoon. I'm actually a Western medical herbalist and also a traditional Chinese medical herbalist. And I also do biofield consulting. So what is that? Well, I go into businesses, but also help individuals to strengthen their intuition, but also to ensure that they have the health and energy to be successful, to carry, their dreams into reality. I also use tools. I love to offer tools or support people with tools so that they can actually be self-sufficient as well in their success. And so I use herbal medicine, essential oils, meditations, and things like that as well. So yeah, it's lovely to be here.
That's beautiful. Wow, what a fabulous combination. That's incredible. Um, Afra, Ronan, would you be able to please introduce yourself as well? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michelle, for the wonderful introduction and the other ladies who do such an important work. I'm honored and grateful to share this space with you and with a lovely audience as well. Good afternoon. I'm Afra Ronan. I'm a trauma-informed coach. I'm a founder of Elate Trauma and Relationship Coaching. One of my services is called Untangle. It's a space for people who might feel anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, or stuck, and looking for some clarity or safety, or ways even to moving forward, some hope that change is possible. It's just one service name, but I think it captures really well the depth of work that I do with trauma. I help people come back to themselves, not too dissimilar to what Deepika is doing, and the important mission that we have in life to help them after people have been shaped by stress, by traumatic events, or relationship that made them question their worth. Before this work, I was over a decade building a successful business in the specialty coffee industry, very different to mental health. On paper, I was doing fabulous, but under the surface, I was running on adrenaline, on anxiety, on people pleasing, until 16 years after I crashed one day, and I crashed hard. And that painful burnout was that wake-up call. I really needed to completely rewire my life, the way I live, love, and work. And that's what I help other people do. I work with diverse mix of people. I work with the LGBTQI community, with the disability sector, with neurodivergent, alternative relationships, but I also work with women who struggle in relationship mainly. They either experience bad divorce or emotional abuse, toxic dynamic. And what I find in common with most of them is that they're incredibly functioning women on the outside, but inside they embrace, they are tensed, they dread the next time that an emotional blow will come up. And even in great times that might occur. And they are holding down jobs, they're raising kids, they're managing everything and everyone, but inside it's a completely different story. And the thing is, life can look fine, but if we don't feel emotionally safe inside, it's really exhausting. We can't really thrive when our nervous system is constantly on survival mode. And thriving for me is really not about perfection, is more about feeling home in your own body, with your energy, your boundaries, your own clarity intact. And just lastly, I wanted to mention to people a kind reminder that when we do speak sometimes about past experiences, things might come up for us, and that it's totally okay and normal if you might feel a little bit either tightness in the chest or some memory that comes up, during the panel or after. I just invite you gently to remember self-care, and sit with yourself and know that it's totally fine, and you are allowed to allow whatever lands to be accepted and leave everything else to the later on. Thank you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I kind of, when you were sort of talking, kind of made me think of, as women, sometimes, we're always kind of like on stage. So, we've got to fix what's behind the curtains so we can, when we're thriving, we're really thriving. We're not just surviving, I
Exactly.
guess. But thank you so much, Afra. That's lovely. And of course, last but not least, our beautiful Elena Seikova. I hope I've pronounced your name
Yes,
properly.
you have.
If you'd
Thank you.
please, introduce yourself, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you, Michelle. Welcome to all, and it's quite an honour to be in the space and sharing the space with this amazing panel of ladies as well. Just letting you know, we've actually got quite a few ladies in the background as audience, so listening in. So I appreciate your time and effort of actually signing in and watching us live. So I'm a compassionate lawyer, accredited mediator, and a conflict resolution coach. So I'm a founder of a business called Ellenix Legal Solutions and Mediation. And my focus is to empower women through separation and beyond, and actually assist them to find themselves, find a clarity moving forward, and most importantly, find solutions outside of court. So, and my other interests as well, and what I'm passionate about is just empowering women in general. And that's one of the reasons we've actually organised this panel, hopefully for you to get involved, to get inspired, and hopefully walk away from learning a lesson and something that you can apply in your daily life. And we'll probably run quite a few panels moving forward. This is our one of the very first one. So we appreciate you joining us. I'm really looking forward to a very interesting discussion moving forward. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for bringing us all together. This is going to be definitely an exciting panel, I'm sure, the first of many. So that brings us to our first question, which is quite exciting. So the first question that we have today, ladies, is what are the first signs that we're stuck in survival mode? And how do we break the cycle? Afra, would you like to go first?
Yeah, definitely. Wonderful question. So survival isn't always that dramatic, right? Sometimes it's subtle, like struggling to make small little decisions, or losing patience over what appears to be nothing, or feeling numb in moments that we should be feeling really excited, or waking up already feeling completely exhausted. It's feeling like you're functioning, but you're not really living. And you might find yourself also people pleasing or overreacting, avoiding conflict, feeling like you're never good enough, no matter what it is that you do, even if you run completely on empty. And that is really the nervous system in its self-protection mode. So how do we break the cycle? It doesn't have to start with a life overall. I really wanted to convey the message that it can be really small step that anyone in the audience today can start even a few minutes after the call or even during the call. It's slow build up of healthy relationship that are generating micro moments of emotional safety. And that might be like pausing before we say yes, letting ourselves cry instead of suppressing it and holding, simply noticing what the body feels when we are not embracing and remember it and practicing more of it. The cycle really starts to break when we stop abandoning ourselves in the name of coping or being liked by others. That's all
Lovely.
for me.
Wow, that's lovely. I guess, yeah, it's just creating that safe and loved experience for yourself. Topeka, what are your thoughts about, what are the first sort of signs of survival mode, and what are your thoughts on how women or anyone can, break free from this sort of a cycle?
Yeah, as Ofra really pointed out, it doesn't have to come in a really big bang way kind of a thing, right? It is in small moments of even awareness. I think the first point, like the first place to start is building that awareness that this is where you are, acknowledging it, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of kindness. We often are kind to other people, but when it comes to us, we are our worst critics and we judge ourselves really harshly. So, my invitation to everyone in the audience and listening is, bringing that compassion towards yourself and holding yourself at the same level as if you would, hold your best friend. So, ask yourself when something like this was coming up for you, am I being my best friend? And then take it from there.
So pretty much putting the mask on yourself first before you pass it to
Absolutely.
others or put it on others, right? So
100%, 100%. And there is a lot of talk about filling your own cup, right? But then do we really do that in a meaningful way?
yes, you can't pour from an empty, well, it's not an empty cup, right? But you get what I'm trying to say, right? You can't pour from an empty pot.
No.
But the saying is you can't pour from an empty cup. So that's interesting, actually. I've never thought of that before. But yes, that's completely true. You know, you need to make sure that, well, I guess you don't want to be too full, but you don't want to be empty, right? So you need to strike that good balance.
100%, absolutely.
That's beautiful. And what about Elena? What are your thoughts? Especially, you probably, meet perhaps, women who are, going through a huge change in their life. How do they help themselves in that situation?
Certainly. So I think it's such an important question. And for me personally, and from professional experience as well. So what I find is it's probably one of the first signs is that feeling of overwhelmed. So what you find is when people are under a lot of pressure, so they'll go into what I would call fight or freeze mode, and in a way that you're not able to make a decision. And I guess when you're avoiding to making a decision, it's so critical for you to decide, well, it's quite important recognizing that you are overwhelmed and maybe taking that pause as well. And I think for me, the critical moment is when you are in that mode, you become reactive rather than responsive. And that's very important, especially when you have to apply a bit of a logic sometimes and find out moving forward. So I think I'm a bit advocate of daily mantra of pause, reflect, and then respond. And that's the very important. And I actually write it down for myself all the time because sometimes you do have events that do happen and unexpected. They might evoke some emotions from you, whether it's anger, frustration, which is normal. We're all human beings. But just for you just to pause, to reflect, and to say, well, how do I proceed? Rather than reacting, just try to reflect. That's probably my biggest guide for women if you're actually in that position.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I guess it all leads to us, creating a safe place for us to sort of, make decisions and function, being really sort of self-aware, giving ourselves perhaps maybe more self-compassion and surrounding yourself with people who fill your cup, right? And who support you, but also not forgetting to take that time out to really look after ourselves so we can be in a position where we thrive beautifully. And Charlotte, would you be able to sort of give us a bit of insight on your thoughts in regards to the topic, which is what are the first signs of we're stuck in survival mode and how do we break the cycle?
I just think to add on to what everyone has said already, I think that when we're in fight, or freeze mode, our language can start changing. So we can start maybe saying, I don't have enough time. So it's a good idea just sort of listen to your language. What are you saying? Or you can say, oh, I've just got to get through this week, or everything's on me. So the language starts to change rather than it being a positive, affirming language. It sort of just becomes a little bit negative. So I think one of the really good steps to take is to stop. And you can say, well, yes, that's fine, but I'm really busy. I don't have time to stop. But it's worth it because you will find that you end up being more efficient and you will actually gain yourself more time by stopping. So just stop even for a moment couple of moments. And then what's really helpful is to come from your brain down into your heart. Because when you concentrate in the heart space, it actually allows you to release that fight and flight and freeze mode. You come out of that mode. So just breathing in, rather than breathing in and out through your nose and mouth, just imagine breathing in and out through your heart. And it's even stronger if you just, put your hands over your heart at the same time. And then once you feel that you've calmed down, that stress has started to release, then just tune in. Tune in. We have great intuition, where really our intuition is incredibly strong and it will tell us what we need. And when you just have that little break of stress, it allows you to go in and just get the messages. What do I need? Do I need a glass of water rather than that coffee, for example? And then maybe when you've got the messages, write them down so you don't keep them in your head.
That's really, interesting and very, very important. I've been recently watching lots of, motivational speakers online, like Elena knows, like I'm a big fan of Dan Martell and, I'm always, watching Tony Robbins and all those sort of things. And I was like, okay, I need to start, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I need to jam pack more into my day. And, I feel like I'm really dedicated to it, but I am just so tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot do that right now. And it's interesting because we actually went to an expo a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, and one of the ladies said to me, why don't you draw a card, Michelle? And I drew a card and it said take a break. And I was like, oh, well, that's great. I'm going to go home and tell my husband that I need to take a break. And he was like, oh, no, but we've got so much to do. And I was like, don't worry, I'll be taking that break. But that leads us to our next question, ladies, which is, why do women sabotage their own success? And what's the antidote? Who would like to go first? Actually, Charlotte, while we have you here, would you like to sort of, give us a response to that question?
Yes, absolutely. So sometimes, of course, it's negative beliefs or programs in our subconscious mind that's running the show. And so it might say, it's hard for me to be successful because I'm a woman, or I have to work from 9 to 5, because maybe your father said that to you as you were growing up. Maybe your teacher said you will never amount to something when you were 5, and it's still running the program is still running you. So that's one thing. And then it's important to be able to clear the subconscious programs so that you put in positive ones that allow you to be successful. I'd say another reason is that it's really difficult to be a tall poppy. And in the UK, we say your head is above the parapet and it's just about to be shot down.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really hard because every time you start succeeding and you start, flourishing, often people just want to pull you down. So you've got to be strong enough and, confident enough to keep going. And I'd say lastly that the subconscious mind has a tendency to always want to keep us safe. And it does that by loving the familiar. So it doesn't really like you to change. It doesn't really like you to come out of your comfort zone. So here you are aiming for the stars, and it's difficult because the subconscious mind can be working against you. So one way to break that patterning is to join groups. Join groups of women, join groups that are in alignment with your goals, your dreams, your desires. And then the subconscious mind will start to say, oh, okay, so I can now align with this group of successful women, for example, and it makes it much easier for you then to succeed yourself.
Yes, that's beautiful, and I think perhaps also, and I think you're probably sort of getting there as well. But to have fun, I think
Oh,
if we have
absolutely.
fun in our lives and surround
Mm.
ourselves with beautiful people and just make the most of every moment, I think once you have that fun, you just attract positivity, and all those terrible mean voices inside your head, you just squish them down and don't let them pop up for air, right? So. Elena, would you like to sort of let us know what are your thoughts? Why do women sabotage their own success, and what do we do about it?
Definitely. So I think from my experience so far, so what I see is mostly women like to prioritize others. So whether it's your children, your spouse, your parents, etc., and you're always kind of in a second place. And what do you find over time, being what I call a people pleaser, always saying yes, you burn out eventually. And the second point is, which I find probably quite sad as well. So what you find is a lot of women actually stay silent to avoid conflict, and then they feel unheard.
Yes.
So I guess if someone asked me, what advice you would give, I would probably say, stop waiting for permission. Be
Mm-hmm.
yourself, speak up. At the end of the day, like we were talking about, you can't pour from an empty cup or from an empty pot as well. You need to be heard. You've got the right to be yourself, to speak, to speak up. And I think that's if the biggest takeaway would be for me is put yourself first. I know there's, putting the mask on yourself first, and that's important moving forward. But to be seen and to be heard, and I love Charlotte's comment about reaching out to the groups that are like-minded or aligned with your values as well. It'll probably expand that to professional. Find someone a professional or someone you need a support from who can actually see you as a person, not just a number.
And I think that's also a little bit, why we sort of, started the Eastern Suburbs Socialites and the other groups as well, is because we wanted to, create, beautiful communities where women support each other and help each other. And I know personally myself, some of the ladies that I've become friends with, it's been absolutely incredible. Like I pretty much like speak to them like almost like every single day, and it's so incredible. Like you just glow differently when you have a support squad behind you. And, that's the best way to say goodbye, I think, to imposter syndrome, really. Like, I find that, quite, I don't even know what the right word is, but yeah, I love that. Um, Afra, would you mind, giving us, your thoughts about, I guess, why women sabotage our own success? And like, it's so unfair. Like, we are so I was gonna say a swear word or freaking good. Like we work so hard. Like we work so hard at home. We work so hard in the workplace. I make an effort, with my friends and all that sort of stuff. But then, like, I feel that we're so good, but yet we still sabotage ourselves. And is
Absolutely.
it
And
just a feminine thing? Like, do you think men do that as well?
men self-sabotage as well, yes. Maybe not to the extent that women are, but they do that too. And boy, do I have to say a lot about self-sabotaging. It's been one of the hardest things for me personally to come around. And I felt it so strongly, especially after leaving the previous career of specialty coffee and having to find myself again and really dig deep into my own gifts and the reason to why I was brought to this earth in the first place. And I think self-sabotage was big, a lot what Charlotte said about that being a survival mechanism, of course, and what Elena talked about permission. These are really the two main important concepts about self-sabotaging. Many women see self-sabotage, how it comes to them in their lives with jealousy or resentment, comes with more pressure, more isolation, or it could have been that we grew up to feeling that too much is actually dangerous because it can cost us love from the people who were supposed to love us unconditionally. And so what we do, we just hold ourselves back, right? Not because we don't want to succeed, but because part of us is really trying to remain safe. So being that a survival strategy, The antidote is not confidence. The antidote to sabotage is nervous system permission. Like Elena said, permission to take up space, permission to get rid of perfection, that, still loved when you're messy, when you're loud, when you're slow, or you're ambitious, or whatever it is that come up for you in that day. Success doesn't have to feel like a threat, but we might just have to do a little bit of work in our body for that to happen.
Yes. And I guess, I think sometimes as women, we just try to flick the switch and just move forward and be really positive, like as if nothing ever happened. But I think if you don't go back and heal, then, you can't fully be happy, right? Because it's still, there in us. We need to clear it, get it out of the system completely.
100%.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Ofra. Deepika, I was going to ask you because with sometimes in Australian culture, like we have tall poppy syndrome. So when you're happy and you're doing well, and then all of a sudden somebody comes and cuts you off at your knees. Do you think that that's where self-sabotage and imposter syndrome comes from? That or is it perhaps that maybe our self-belief wasn't strong enough that we allowed it to cut us down? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think definitely it is that self-belief piece that I would definitely say that, people will do what they do. We cannot control the outside environment. We can only control what's within us and how we feel and how we behave and how we lift ourselves up. And that takes effort. And like everybody from Charlotte to Elena and Ofra have shared amazing tips. And I think it's really important for women to know sometimes that not only they are perhaps fearing failure, but sometimes they fear success as well, right? They always ask that, if I go to that next level, if I go to that next stage, will I still be able to be good enough, right? Or perhaps I will lose the friends that I had or the relationships that I had. So what they do is they play small, right? And then what happens in the process is that their self-belief and their self-trust gets a big hit, and that whole imposter syndrome that starts to take place within. And again, as I think Ofra touched on this gently, was about being perfectionism is another one, a really big one. We always try to be perfect. We are always seeking external validation. For me, this was a really big thing, that people pleasing and external validation. I did not even know that I did that, but there was in subtle ways we are always asking someone to validate us, to validate that yes, you are doing enough, or that you are good enough, and that that sort of a thing. So I think those things, that being really mindful of what are we really doing to ourselves there, and becoming aware is really important to build that trust back in ourselves.
That's great. Thank you so much, Deepika. Elena, I was going to ask you because sometimes as women, I guess with that imposter syndrome and the self-sabotage, like we just end up going into this spiral that just keeps going down and down and down unless we sort of stop it and do something about it. What are your thoughts? I mean, what do you think? How do we get out of this cycle? Do you think women perhaps maybe need to build their confidence together with their self-care and also their sort of self-compassion, or do they also need to sort of build their resilience more as well? What are
Probably a
your thoughts?
combination of all three. I think it's quite important for women to acknowledge sometimes you happen events in your life and you what I'd call struggle, and just to acknowledge that I'm not okay. And I like the slogan saying it's okay not to be okay. Sometimes you have days like that. I have days like that. We all do. Just to acknowledge saying, well, I'm not having a good day. I need to take a break, like Charlotte said, which is really important. And self-care is definitely important. So self-care, I guess, can mean anything for anyone. So for me, I love nature. For me, going for a walk for 10 minutes does, absolute a trick, a magic. Sometimes you're just switching off and actually just being rather than doing, which is very important. And I think for me, the most important part is, other than setting healthy boundaries to say, I need time for myself, I call it me time, which is in a way a self-care, is to protect your peace. What you find is, if you don't protect your peace, nobody else will do that for you. Just recognizing to say, okay, I'm not having a good day. I'm going to, like Charlotte said, to stop. Or in my case, I call it pausing. And even if it's an hour, I just need, whether just to enjoy coffee or maybe just catching up with girlfriends. And Michelle mentioned that as well. We have an amazing supportive group, women, whether it's online and in person, just to reach out or basically just be with someone else. And sometimes it just gives you that ability to reset, and just to recognize it's normal not to be perfect or not to have amazing days every day. Just to recognize that you're a human being and you're allowed to have that break in life sometimes.
Yeah. And, I guess sometimes, things don't go to plan. So no matter what it is, we need to realize that we can only control what we can control. And I think also create our own peace with whatever we have, with whatever tools and whatever situation we can, in order to keep us at a level where we can, keep moving forward and doing our best. So that's lovely. Thank you so much. And our next question about burnout, which, my lord, us ladies are, I think, I always, if you have a look on Facebook, people are all, or ladies are always talking about burnout. Um, what would you ladies think about, what are some simple, natural ways to fight burnout without feeling selfish? Because I know, and I think Charlotte mentioned this, that, sometimes our excuse is that we don't have time. And, that's always my excuse. That I was talking to a friend yesterday. She's like, well, why don't you just get up 10 minutes earlier? I'm like, 10 minutes earlier? Like, I'm really struggling with getting up early these days. I'm probably very tired and exhausted, but trying very hard to keep it all together, because that's what you do, right? So that's why this, topic is really important for me as well. Elena, what are your thoughts? And I think you mentioned that you like to go for a walk and things like that. Are there some other things that you do to sort of help you with fighting burnout, and so that you don't feel selfish about it?
I probably use what I call it grounding tools, whatever it is. So for me, it will be nature. If you're very time poor, sometimes you're on the go. The simplest way to ground yourself, you'll be amazed, is to have a glass of water, literally. So if you're in a meeting and it's quite intense and you can't go for a walk because you're in a meeting, having that glass of water, because it does two things. First of all, you're pausing and you're concentrating on doing something else, so you're not overthinking. And secondly, nature actually grounds us. Sorry, the water actually grounds us. So you'll be amazed. For me, is the quickest kind of pause, literally 2-3 seconds pause, is take a glass of water. I always walk around with a bottle of water for the benefit of to ground myself, and nobody knows that. That's how I ground myself. So that's really, I think, a quick tip. Have a glass of water, or have a bottle of water with you, and you feel like your emotions are rising and you need that 5 seconds break, and you can't be outside or you can't take me time, just pause and just have a sip of water. And I find that's probably the quickest tool for me to ground myself and just to have that reset button.
That's beautiful. That's lovely. And do you, when you go out into nature, do you ever take your shoes off and do some, grounding with your feet, or
Earthing.
earthing? Is that what...
So it's on to-do list. It's a little bit cold at the moment, but I think it's great if you can do that. I personally find just switching off and closing your eyes. I'm very lucky because I've got a very hidden treasure here in a park where you actually can hear the birds. You can actually feel a bit of a breeze. So you actually close your eyes for 10 minutes. It's amazing. It feels as if I'm not in the heart of Bondi where I am, and it's really busy. It feels like I'm kind of in some kind of holiday resort in the forest, And for 10 minutes, it's amazing what wonders it does for you. But I appreciate not everyone has that time, but sometimes you need to make time. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that first thing in the morning before life gets a little bit busy. And just to let you know, Michelle, we've got a question in the chat room from one of the audiences.
Yes. What I was thinking, maybe we'll just get the panelists just to finish this question, and then we'll move on to the questions. And if anyone has any other questions, please do put it into the chat box, and we'll definitely go through some of them as we keep going. I hope that's okay. Afra, what are your thoughts? So, would you be able to talk to us a little bit about fighting burnout and why is it us women always feel selfish, if we're doing something for ourselves?
Yeah, thanks, Elena, as well for talking about nature. It's such an important, vital element in our lives. And yeah, I walk barefoot on grass in Centennial Park right next to me. I dance as if nobody's watching. I hug trees. I'm a big tree hugger, and I know that people kind of think that I'm crazy, but let them. And I also think that understanding burnout and how to work with it starts with understanding that it doesn't mean you're broken. Yeah, it means that you were doing too much with too little support, too little resources for way too long without any space just to be, not do. And Elena also touched on this. So the answer is not always a yoga retreat or bubble bath or quitting your job or anything that big. Sometimes it's smaller than that. Letting yourself eat real food while sitting down. That's big. For so many women that I know, that just doesn't happen. They're on the go, go, go. Telling someone, I can't do it right now, without explaining why. Yeah. Having 1 hour a week where nobody needs anything from you. Yeah. And you still feel selfish after that? Good. Because that means you're unlearning the idea that being exhausted is like a badge of honor we all carry around. And so you can still care really deeply about others, but choose to stop bleeding for everyone. That's my take.
That's beautiful. Deepika, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Elena, and Ofra, some really great tips there. I'm a big proponent of meditation and mindfulness. Being a meditation teacher, I can't go past it. I think it is the biggest gift that we can give to ourselves. And sometimes, the excuse, as Charlotte previously mentioned, was I don't have enough time. But I just really want to emphasize that if you make time to pause and meditate or practice mindfulness, you will get so much time back in your day, because it will help calm your nervous system down. It will make you more efficient because you'll be able to think more clearly. You will be calmer, so clearly you will be more productive. So even if you don't have to, as they say, you don't have to go at a mountain top to meditate. You'll be surprised to know that I actually can sit on a train and meditate, when I'm commuting or on a bus. And sometimes if it is just 5 minutes you have, then 5 minutes is all you need, and it can make a world of difference.
That's great. And that is so true. Actually, sometimes in our office, we'll actually do a quick, 5 or 10 minute meditation before our day starts. And then we quickly do a quick 5 minute journal. Like, I think that definitely, helps. So that's lovely. Thank you so much. Charlotte, what are your thoughts? Would you share with us, please?
I think if we can redefine rest as productive, that's helpful. And also using simple things like essential oils, because we know that there's been so much research done on essential oils, and many of them, including, let's think, orange, for example, geranium, rose, what they do is they actually slow our brainwaves down into an alpha brainwave state, which you go into with meditation as well as theta. And it's so easy just to smell, a drop of essential oil. You can put it on a handkerchief and sort of pop it under your, blouse or your clothes or something. You can infuse it into the air. We know, for example, lemon oil, even if you change absolutely nothing in your life, nothing at all, if you smell it in the air, it actually increases your perception of health. So these essential oils are so powerful. And if you're feeling tired and you need to rest and you're thinking, oh, I just can't manage it, you can't go past something like rose, because it has this beautiful dual action of allowing you to relax, but also, funnily enough, increasing your concentration. So you can often use oils in this dual way, which is wonderful. And even herbal teas. So take peppermint, we'll just use one example. So take peppermint tea. Peppermint tea is a relaxant. So if you're feeling stressed, drink peppermint tea. But the oil of peppermint actually helps concentration, focus, alertness, and also memory. So, you know, it's, again, a dual action. And then the last thing I'd say is have some tech-free time. And one thing you can do, which links in with all the earthing, which I love doing as well, is you can actually, to discharge static electricity when you've been on the computer a lot, we're all around tech all the time, you can actually just stand on a piece of aluminium foil. I wouldn't use it for anything else particularly because it's aluminium, but for standing on to discharge energy, it's marvelous.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really, really good. And I actually love peppermint tea, and I actually have a magnesium rose spray that I've been spraying on my soles before I go to bed every night. And yeah, I find it really good. I don't know if it's helping, but I've got this like green supplement. I'm going through a whole like transformation, trying to sort of, get healthier. But that's, so pretty much like when it comes to fighting burnout, without feeling selfish, we need to really acknowledge that rest isn't selfish. It's really something that's strategic. And we can start small. So it doesn't have to be, big things. It can be, 5 minutes of breath work, a walk without your phone, meditating on the train, and putting boundaries around your time. So, I guess I think the one thing that we probably you all definitely agree on is that burnout, thrives in silence. So when we start talking about it and honoring our needs and our self-compassion and our self-care, then we break that cycle for ourselves and others around us as well. Um, I guess, you don't need a retreat in Bali. You can just create one in your living room, right? So I just want to quickly check. So what I was hoping to do is just to go to our questions. I can see that we do have a question, which is great. Thank you so much, Catherine Holz, for sharing a question with us. So the question is to all panelists: in light of positioning yourself as thriving women with self-value, why does this make others critical of your change? Deepika, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Catherine. It's a really important question. And my suggestion to that is that will happen, because that does happen. People tend to pull you down. But then in that moment, you have to ask yourself, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are these the people that you want to walk the rest of your life with? Because clearly you are changing, and you are changing for better. And if they seem to be stuck with where they were and what their idea of you was, if that doesn't fit in your future vision, be prepared to lose some people. And that's totally fine. Yeah, really asking yourself that, are they adding any value to your life or not?
Yes, sure. No, that's amazing. And I guess we just need to be prepared to shed some skin like snakes do, and it helps us become, I think a better person. Afra, I was actually thinking, and I don't know if you would agree with me, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I guess sometimes, if people are critical of your change, then I think that's probably that they've been triggered by something, perhaps that it's something that they need to change. So really, it's not something that belongs to you. It probably belongs to them. What are your thoughts, Afra?
Absolutely. People get really uncomfortable when they start observing and witnessing other people in their healing journeys around them. Because when we start healing, we stop playing the role that they need us to play. Yeah. We stop abandoning ourselves. We stop over functioning for their pleasement. We stop making ourselves smaller just to fit whatever comfort zone that they might have created for us. And for people that really benefited from us being silent or have our self-sacrifice put forward or doing an emotional labor for them, you know, the healing isn't convenient. My healing makes them very uncomfortable. And, you know, it challenges this unspoken contract, you know, in those relationships. You stay in pain, I stay comfortable, or I stay your friend. These are the conditioned relationship that we surround ourselves with. And they simply find nothing to hold on to anymore. And it's okay, because when they will arrive at their truth in whichever point in their path, then they will see things as we see, or people that in the healing journey see. And we all have our time. Everyone is in the perfect time for their own personal evolution right now.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Charlotte, you know, what are your thoughts? Like, say, for example, you know, if you're vibrating high, right, that should radiate to all the people around you. So how come those people are still critical of you? How come the vibrations aren't reaching them and actually helping them come up as well? Or are they just so stuck in their own old ways that they're just blocking it, not wanting to make a shift?
I think whatever you do to increase your vibration will radiate out to others. We know that. We know that we can send healing, we can be positive, we can be full of light, and it absolutely will affect others. The only thing is, as Ofra says, it makes them feel uncomfortable, you know, because they're having to go out of their comfort zone. They're losing their equilibrium for a moment until they regain it. And if they can have the courage to do so, then they can open up and change and rise as well. But maybe, as Ofra said as well, they're not quite ready. So we just understand that, but know that, yes, you absolutely, we all have positive influence, you know, whatever stage other people around us are at.
So no matter what, just keep on shining, right? Don't let
Keep on
anyone dull
shining.
your sparkle.
Yeah.
And what about Elena? What are your thoughts? I mean, you know, when people sort of you know, challenge your positivity or challenge your thriving, how do you sort of, you know, what are your thoughts? Like, what's the best way to sort of deal with that? And, you know, why do you think people do that? Is it jealousy, maybe?
Oh, definitely. And I think in a way, I look at it as opportunity to empower others, because in a way, I mean, my brand is Elenix, which is Phoenix rising from the ashes. I see it is obviously I'm rising from the ashes, and some people are uncomfortable with it, but it's just a matter of time till they get inspired. They'll see her saying, oh, she's thriving.
They'd be
So
like,
she's giving.
I want some of that too.
Exactly. So I think it's just a matter of time. So I think there was actually a post a while ago on Facebook. Someone said, if you know, if everyone dislikes me, am I being too sexy? So I look at it the way of, oh, I'm inspiring others. So perhaps their first response is they're intimidated by your success or by you doing something else. But I see it as I'm leading by example. So it's a matter of time till they become your fan. So it's just, I look at it as a silent way of empowering people, but it's women in particular. But it's just a matter of time, because I know they'll transition. So I'm just giving them that space, saying, I know you're critical at the moment, but it's just a matter of time till you get inspired. And I guess that's why we're here in this room, to inspire other women to the same.
Yeah, and sometimes people might just need some space and then they come back, you know, when they're ready to meet you, I guess, at that level, which is lovely as well. Just to our dear guests, if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to pop them in. I, you know, I'm actually really, really grateful for being here today. I think it's been absolutely wonderful, and we've had some really great insights, you know, from different angles as well, which makes it more fun and interesting. But I can see that we don't have any more questions, so why don't we just move on? Thank you so much, Lily. That's lovely. Lily's just said that it's been a lovely discussion. So thank you so much, Lily, for joining us. And Catherine Holst as well. Thank you for joining our conversation. That's been wonderful. Catherine has just said that we are all in different energy, which is really true. I guess we're all at different parts of our journey, and sometimes we meet and sometimes we go in opposite directions. And I guess that's life, and everyone has their own journey, I guess. What I was hoping for as a reflection, a last reflection before we start to sort of round up, if the panelists could all give us a bit of advice or some encouragement that they want every woman or man, if we have any men listening to us, to walk away with. So something nice and positive to help us keep thriving on our journeys. Topeka, would you like to go first?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Michelle. I would say, please don't hesitate to seek support. Remember, you are not alone, and there are people out there, professionals, and perhaps your family members or your friends. Please seek help. You don't have to try to do everything by yourself.
Yeah, that's very true. As they say, and I think, it applies to raising children, but I think it applies to everything. They used to say, it takes a village to raise a child, but I think it takes a village for us to all be happy and thrive and, do well in our lives, right? So, Charlotte, what are your thoughts? So, could you give us some advice as a awesome takeaway?
I think whatever you're going through, at whatever stage you're at, just remember that we are incredibly powerful and we can manifest absolutely anything we need. Sometimes there are things in the way. Sometimes, yes, we need the support to help remove those blocks. But whatever position you're in, just please remember you are a very, very powerful person, a very, very powerful being.
And I think that's very true, because you might feel like you're stuck in a situation, but in 3 months' time or 6 months' time, if you work on yourself, everything can change, right? You just need to have a plan and stick to it, and just love yourself and give you all that self-care, and be your own cheerleader. You might not have someone else cheerleading for you, but get those pom-poms out and have some fun, crank up some music, and I believe that it's all a part of energy and moving forward. Afra, what are your thoughts? Would you be able to share some advice or some words of encouragement with us?
Yeah, 100%. And I've written a few words. So with your permission, I'm just going to quickly read that.
Yes, please.
If you spend years holding it all together while feeling like you're falling apart on the inside, I want you to know this. You are not broken. You are not too much, and you're not alone. Your patterns were never proof of failure. They were proof of your brilliance, of your adaptability, of your survival. But survival isn't the whole story. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to feel joy without guilt. You're allowed to take up space, change your mind, raise your standards, and come back home to the version of you that never needed to be fixed in the first place, only remembered. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. One nervous system safe, self-compassionate step at a time. You're not behind, you're becoming.
That's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. And Afra, we have actually had one of our beautiful guests has actually got a question for you. So we've had a lovely lady write, Kushani. All of you ladies are amazing, and thank you so much for your time and sharing your thoughts. I have a question for Afra, if that's all right. What can we do if we are torn about a situation regarding a relationship? If it is something we can work on or move on from, do we wait for more signals to make a decision, or do what's best despite the circumstances? Thank you for your time.
A great question, and something that I really love and work with, obviously being trauma and relationship coach. And people always ask me, why both? And I see relationship as the mirror to our inner world. And when trauma or stress hits us, it kind of distorts the blueprint of the relationship for us. We could see love and intimacy and connectedness as a threat. on one hand, or on the other hand, we could constantly be overgiving because we don't feel worthy. You know, we need to earn our place. And so in this type of situation, I would say that it's important to remember that many of the patterns that we bring into relationships are not really ours, is what trauma had made us to be. And so taking the time to understand a little bit more whether things that we bring in relationships, whether it's overacting or avoidance or aggression or defensiveness or anything that might have been pointed out to us or that we've observed in ourselves, it is simply our nervous system trying to protect us. When we understand where it comes from and dig a little bit deep and going into the root cause, everything falls into place. And the nervous system is that one big link between how we feel ourselves to be and the reason to why we behave the way we behave in the world. Take some time to understand your pattern, and it'll really help you to figure out whether to stay, whether to go, whether to work on, or whether that might not be a relationship that serves you at the moment. And it's a better place to be of leaving behind what doesn't really serve you and looking for those connections that are able to work with you. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be healed to be in relationship. You just need to have that desire, the awareness and the desire to continue improving yourself as a partner and what we deliver to others, but most importantly, to have the healthiest possible relationship that you can have with yourselves, because you'll be the one that will be right there by your side until the end of times.
How do you take care of your nervous system to sort of be able to read, you know, how you're feeling?
That is a 12 weeks long program that I offer. And
There
to
you
say
go.
that
Wow,
just in
wow,
one,
wow.
in one sentence, I think it's the difference between regulating nervous system, that is a big buzzword nowadays in the well-being space. But the difference between regulating and distilling emotional safety in your nervous system. So the understanding of this difference is the key to retrain our nervous system to feel safe in our body and in our relationships.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And Kushani has written, thank you so much. You are all really beautiful souls. So thank you so much, Kushani. That's lovely. Thank you for joining us. But I also wanted to ask Elena like about some advice, encouragement with one thing that she wants to share. But I know that Elena, you also do work with you know, a lot of people when it comes to relationships and things like that. Is there any sort of, you know, advice that you could possibly give around that too?
I think the most important one is probably just to keep it very short and sweet, is to be yourself and not to be afraid to speak up. And I guess to summarize what we've discussed today is what you find is when you're being yourself and you do speak up or speak your truth, you find that the right tribe or those that are aligned with you will find you. So I find it as there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So if you're holding that torch, you'll find the right people will see the light and then will find you and then will join you. And I think that's what we're doing today. Pretty much we've got 5 amazing ladies that are aligned. And I know we've got a few other ladies that are interested to be in the panel down the track as well. And us being ourselves and we're pretty much being in the right space. And I think that's very important because a lot of people are afraid to be themselves. So, you know, criticism from others, like Catherine has asked, and other reasons, but just be yourself because the right people will actually find you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, wonderful ladies. Oh my God, what a great time that I have had with you. And you know, I'm going through my own sort of, you know, spiritual journey. So it really has been very meaningful to me as well. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and your stories and everybody who has joined us today. And it will be amazing because we will be posting this panel. So give people an opportunity to replay. to make sure that they don't miss out on all the goodiness that we have been able to talk about today. I hope that the ladies who have joined us are walking away with some inspiration, a sense of community, and some tools that will help them to survive more, not just survive, but also to thrive, to truly thrive. And yes, as I mentioned before, we'll be definitely sharing this video, which will allow everybody to replay, and the speakers will be able to share the video with their communities as well. So don't be afraid, ladies and gentlemen, to make that next move. It might be something that is the start of something extremely powerful. So believe yourself, give yourself self-compassion and self-care, and love yourself to make that first next step just to get you moving in the right direction. Until next time, please take care of yourselves, believe in your potential, and remember, thriving isn't just possible, it's your birthright. Thank you so much, and I hope you've all had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.